Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, Aastha.
I request you all to please switch on your cameras. Thank you very much. The influence of a teacher extends way beyond the classroom, well into the future, and they really have the power to change the perspective of a child. Good morning. It gives me immense pleasure to start this session by heartily welcoming all our renowned guests, Miss Adity Ghalawat, Miss Hina Naim, Miss Sanskriti, and Miss Aradhna Patel. Today, for the conference that has been organized by Sarkari School in collaboration with NSS, NCC College. I would also like to offer my regards to everyone attending this conference and all who made this conference possible. Without any delay, let's start with Miss Aditi Gehlawat. Aditi has done her bachelor's in elementary education from Jesus and Mary College, Delhi University. She has 3 years of working experience and has worked with different organizations as a life skills and English facilitator, content developer, and educational consultant. She is currently working as a co-tutor in Pathway School, Noida. She is also volunteering her time in a Swedish startup working on social emotional learning. She is passionate about promoting gender neutral classrooms and making SEL an integral part of primary and elementary classes. She is also pursuing her master's in education. Now I would like Aditi to start speaking on this topic.
Thank you, Aastha. That was a really nice introduction. Thank you for having me, first of all. And as you said in my introduction, that I'm very passionate about creating gender neutral classrooms. And that was the main reason that I was really very excited to be on this panel here today. I would like to start by saying that I consider myself very fortunate and lucky that I got to see all the classes, elementary classes, primary classes, and now as an early years educator, I'm getting to see a lot of things that some of the teachers might not have the exposure to, which gives me an advantage in a way where I get a lot of chance to bring in gender equality and talk about gender neutral classrooms. As an early years educator, I can say that school and classrooms play a very important role in creating gender equality in the minds of our learners, and it becomes all the more important in early years classroom because there's when the child starts making his or her idea about what is gender, because gender is a social norm we get to learn when we have experience throughout our environments and all those things. So as you talked about my Swedish startup, when I'm volunteering my time, I was developing content for them, and there I got to know how gender neutral language plays a very important role in classroom. When I was first developing content, all of my questions, or rather most of my questions, had his, her, and all those pronouns that we use for specific genders. And when I was receiving that feedback that try and use more gender neutral words, it struck me there that even unknowingly we do put in so much gender norms into our children. So as a teacher, it becomes all the more very important that we are very we are thinking before we are speaking about the language, kind of language that we are using. So first thing is using gender neutral language when we are referring to children. Instead of saying choose a boy to go with you, we can say choose a friend to go with you. And similarly creating gender neutrality wherein we are asking boys to shift the furniture of the classroom instead of asking girls to shift the furniture, and we're asking girls to decorate the boards of our classroom instead of asking boys, because it's it's so inbuilt in us that girls like decorating things, girls like coloring, girls like painting, and boys, are strong, so they would like to, move the furniture and all those things, which, as an early years educator, I feel we should stop that barrier. We should, try and be very, yeah, we should be very mindful of what kind of language we are using, what kind of activities we are doing with our children, and that's where it sets in. So avoiding stereotyping children, asking, saying things like boys are making too much noise, boys are strong, and all those things uh, impersonate in the children. They listen to that, they learn from that, and that's what we have to stop doing in our classroom. That there's a very nice example that has always stayed with me. My professor in college used to say, because I come from a girls college, we used to do all the things from, when we were organizing conferences, when we were organizing events, from setting furniture to making the posters. All the things were done by girls because there were no boys. And she used to say that in your schools, you must have seen that when we ask children, that, okay, it's a PE classroom, it's physical education class. So boys are asked to, they are said that, okay, let's go play cricket, let's go play football. And girls are given the option to sit at the side, which is not good. That should not happen. In my class, this is a very recent example. My PE sir was having a class with all the children, and he was asking everyone to run. So one of the girls came to me and she said that, ma'am, I don't want to run. And I was in a fix because she's a 5-year-old girl, and I was like, okay, it's your choice, you don't want to run, don't run. She stood there with me, but that I would like to, appreciate my sir, because he came and he said, no ma'am, ask her to come with me. And I sent her with sir. She kept crying, but my sir made her run. And that's where we, because all the boys are very passionate about running and, doing all those boxing and all those things, wherein we give our girls the option of stepping aside and sitting, which should not happen in a class. We should give them equal opportunity, and we should tell them that you are equally strong to do that, go and do that, you can do it. So she kept crying, she did it. But after that, she felt so good, she came and thanked sir, that, sir, thank you so much for giving me that. So, giving me that opportunity. So what I'm trying to say is that it's really important for us to be very mindful as a teacher, be it a primary teacher, be it an elementary teacher, and all the more important for a early years teacher, of using the language, kind of language that we are using, kind of actions that we are doing, kind of activities that we are doing. Even in the activities, when it's time to color, or girls, we feel that girls would like to color more, like to color, but boys don't like to do that. But boys like to do that equally, I'm seeing that in my classroom. So we have to give them that opportunity, and we have to be open to that. uh, Coming next, my second next suggestion for a teacher to use that in a classroom would be looking at our seating arrangement. In an early years classroom it doesn't happen, but when we gradually go up in primary and in elementary classrooms, since that is a gang age, children tend to, sit, boys tend to sit with boys, girls tend to sit with girls, and they make that group like that, that, okay, she's a girl, I'm not going to talk to her. She's a boy, he's a boy, I'm not going to talk to him, because I want to stay with my girlfriends and I want to stay with my boyfriends. So to break that thing in our classroom, we should make a buddy system. This is what we have been doing in our class with my form tutor. We make buddy system, and it's not like that I make the buddies and I always pair them up as a girl and a boy. No, I give my children the agency to choose. Every day in the morning, we pick up cards, we pick up name cards, and children come, they choose a card, the chit comes out, and that's their buddy for the day. So, giving them the option, giving them the agency to choose is, says a lot about the classroom culture, says a lot about the teacher, says a lot about what kind of things children are taking back home. So it's very important that we look into that. Second thing is, when we're taking children out, we tend to maintain decorum, to maintain the discipline in the school, we tend to do things like, okay, girls line up here, boys line up here, which is a very subtle segregation that we start in the school itself. From asking children to line up in different lines, it make it sends a symbol, it sends a sign that, okay, he is different from who I am, and I am different from who he is. So that kind of segregation should not happen. Not Do not segregate them at a very early stage, saying that girls line up here, boys line up here. I understand that can be a discipline thing, that can be a decorum thing, but children take that back home. And that is one thing that I would never want my children to take home. Coming to, as Astha also said in my introduction, I'm very passionate about bringing social emotional learning in my classroom. And when we talk about social emotional learning, we always talk about emotions, we talk about feelings. And when it comes to emotions and feelings, all of us would have heard it once or twice in our life. Boys are strong, boys don't cry. It's okay for girls to express themselves, but it's not okay for boys to cry. Or small things like, if a boy gets hurt in a school and he starts crying, the teacher, the didis in the school go and say to them, "You're a strong boy, don't cry." Why? He is hurt. He is physically hurt, or he is emotionally hurt. So he is supposed to cry. That's how he's going to express his emotions. It's absolutely okay to cry, and we need to tell that to our students. We need to tell that to our boys and girls, that it's okay to cry and it's okay to express ourselves. Be open about our emotions. And as a social emotional expert, I always go and say that never ever in your classroom say that boys are strong, boys are emotionally strong, or they have to be emotionally strong. No, they don't have to be. They can cry, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to express ourselves. Also, I'm sorry if I'm extending the time, but this would be my last suggestion for all the teachers who are hearing this. uh, I know NCRT is doing a lot, and they're trying to inculcate all those things in their books also. And as a teacher, it becomes all the more important for us to inculcate and bring that in a classroom, is breaking gender stereotypes. I always go in my class and I tell them that, I ask my students in quality circle time, what did they have for dinner? Who cooked the dinner? And it's so good to hear that my dad cooked the dinner, my mamu cooked the dinner, my bhaiya cooked the dinner. And I always go and say to them that, yes, my dad cooked the dinner yesterday, or my brother cooked the dinner for me yesterday. So breaking gender stereotypes in small norms like this is very important. Telling students very early that cooking is not a girl job, cooking is not just your mother's job. It's a household thing, it's a household chore that everyone in the house is responsible for. So it's very important that we are subtly sending those signs and symbols to our children, that household works, or things like a firefighter we do have female firefighters, we do have female police, and we do have male nurse, for that matter of fact. So telling them, and it would be very great if we could get some male nurse in the class and have them share their experience. If we could get some female firefighters in our class and share their experiences, that would concrete their understanding of that, yes, gender is just a social norm, and it does not bind us anywhere. It is never going to be a barrier for us to to achieve anything in our lives. It's not going to limit us to anything. Thank you.
Very well said, Aditi. I'm totally agree with you. So, for the next speaker, we have Hina Naim. She is currently working as a fellow with Teach for India, wherein her passion to reach the masses and impact their life in a positive way has amplified many folds. I enjoy what I do, and that's what pushes me to do it every single day. She has 4 years of work experience across the sector ranging from marketing and social media and social services. She is also a great speaker. So may I welcome Hina Naim. Please share your feelings and views about this.
Hello, am I audible? Thank you, thank you. So basically, when I received this topic, I was actually quite perplexed. Reason being, I actually thought, how can education bring gender equality? I was thinking in terms of education, but then I reread the topic. Like, how can a teacher bring gender equality in a classroom? And from past 2 years, I entered the classroom during peak COVID time, and it was like we were teaching online, completely online. And we started off from very minimal attendance, say for 30%, and it reached very substantially, you can say, to 60%. And therein, since being in an online classroom, we did not experience that much of an exposure that should have been. Then when I entered into the physical classroom, I actually realized the gap and the biases that are fit in the minds of the students, and what role can actually a teacher play in this thing. So, as my fellow speaker, Aditi quite, she quite elaborately discussed key what all stereotypes we are facing and how can we, overcome them. So, while thinking about what I can do in this regards of what I can speak about, I was kind of reimagining the role of a teacher. So, when you say ki how can a teacher bring gender equality in a classroom, so the immediate question which came to my mind was, is it enough to just be a teacher? Because teachers nowadays, I know it's a very you can say the most noble job. People kind of look up to this job, but teachers somewhere have this mentality ki, am I audible? Okay, thank you. Teachers have this mentality somewhere ki we are there in the classroom. We are there to impact the children for few hours, and then they'll have to go back, and then the parents will have to handle them. But when I look back into my school time, I very clearly remember, who was my best teacher, which teacher I despised the most, and which teacher made the most impact on me. So when I look back into time, I realized ki what kind of impact a teacher was able to make in my life. So I just wanted to, in this regards, I just wanted to, kind of question the role of a teacher, reimagine the role of a teacher. So I believe that being a teacher in today's time is just not enough. A teacher needs to be a mentor, a friend, a guide, and more importantly, an equal partner in education. When a teacher realizes this thing, that what all roles she needs to play, and how student looks up to her, obviously she'll realize the responsibility and the impact she creates on a student's life in and beyond the classroom. And once that responsibility and that noble impact is clear in her mind, I'm sure the steps would be taken in a manner that would actually set a student's life on a straight line, on a straight pattern, irrespective of the gender. So for example, if I quote from my school days, very basic stereotypes I'm going to discuss. Like, for example, my favorite color is blue, and that's very unlikely for a girl. I love royal blue color, and everyone is like, no, yeah, girls should be liking pink and very bright colors, red and all that stuff. I'm like, what's about that? We can love any color. All colors are beautiful. It's just a matter of choice. Even boys can love pink. They can love red. And I actually love pastel colors, so that's quite on a boyish side. They're like, your choice of colors is very dull. It's like more of on a boyish side. I'm like, that's my choice, and it has nothing to do with genders. So you can actually see, for example, if you ask, when I ask students to color in the classroom, boys are usually picking up dark colors, as Aditi clearly mentioned, blue, black, and girls are picking up pink color, red color, and I'm like, this color should be, you can even try out new colors, and they're like, no, ma'am, boys use this colors only, girls use this colors only. So it's like we are setting a stereotype from very young age, and that actually impersonates a person from for very very long time. Secondly, I remember, I was in school basketball team for quite some time. You can say 6 to 7 years, and I actually used to bunk classes for that. So teacher used to be like, "You're a girl. What are you gonna do with all these sports and all? Why are you doing this, stuff?" So I'm like, I just love doing it. What does this have to do with my gender? Because as simple as that, even I come from an all girls school, so we have done everything. Moved furnitures and played all sort of sports. Collaborated with all the teachers and all for various stuff. So in my school time and college time, since it was all girls, we never faced any discrimination. But when I come into my work experience part, or any post education part, so there I clearly saw, if you have to compare, if you have to talk about neatness and beautiful things, you're always comparing it with that of a girls. How can you say that? Maybe a boy might be more creative than us, and you have not even seen this, and just because of a stereotype, you've actually kind of outcasted him from that particular activity. Similarly, I've actually seen, if talking about, for example, if you're talking about from job perspective, so it's like more jobs with more of strength, or some kind of smartness. For example, they say boys will be able to do better. For example, up till now, this is a very prominent stereotype still set in our minds. For example, if you have to if you have to be if you have to think about a maths teacher or a science teacher, you better it should be a sir, because they have a good mental ability and they'll be able to teach you better. And believe me, for quite some time I was of the same view only. I used to advise people, yeah, look for a sir, who maths sir or someone, because female teachers are not good enough. And when I started teaching, I was like, what sort of mentality we have been brought up with? So it's like, I think, little stereotypes which need to be broken, and it cannot be done all at the same time. It's like one step at a time. And being a teacher, I think that's the most, you are in a position who can do it every single day, every single moment, unintentionally, without making it so clear. So, take one step at a time, and, because changes obviously doesn't come, overnight. It's a process which takes a long time. So take one step over time, and सबसे बड़ी बात I would say, just realize your role. Teacher is no, I would say, no normal job role. I won't even call it a profession. It's a very, I would say, service to the society, which once realized, and which once realized ki what impact you are making, automatically you will be set in a mode which that, yeah, I have to impact the lives of the people, and what I'm doing today will show results after many years. So have patience and keep working hard in whichever direction you are working. Thank you so much.
Very well said, Hina ma'am. So moving forward, we have Aradhna Patel. She has been working as an assistant teacher in Murarpur Public School, Fatehpur, for 3 years. She has completed MA and BEd and has a teaching experience of 6 years. So I welcome Aradhna ji. Please share your feelings and reviews about this.
थैंक यू मैम. गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन. जैसा कि आपने बता दिया है कि मैं प्राथमिक विद्यालय मुरारपुर देवमई में कार्यरत, और अभी तक का जो हमारा अनुभव रहा है वो बालिका शिक्षा पर हमने देखा कि हमारा विद्यालय बिल्कुल गांव क्षेत्र देहात का विद्यालय है, जिसमें से बालिकाओं को पहले तो ना तो पढ़ने के लिए कोई इतना जागरूक था पढ़ाने के लिए, और ना ही उनको आगे आने के लिए कोई बोलता था, कि उनसे कुछ पूछता ही नहीं था कि बेटियों से कुछ बात पूछी जाए. घर में भी पूछते थे तो केवल बेटों से पूछते थे. कोई भी काम करना है तो बेटों से पूछ लिया, और बेटियों को कोई तवज्जो नहीं दिया जाता था. जब मैं मैं खुद अपनी बात बताती हूँ कि मैं जब बीएससी करने जा रही थी, तो मेरे गांव के, मैं भी गांव से ही बिलोंग करती हूँ, तो गांव के आसपास के लोगों ने कहा मेरे पापा से कि अरे साइंस साइड तो यहाँ है नहीं स्कूल, तो इनको साइंस साइड क्यों दिला रहे हो, इनको दूर जाना पड़ेगा पढ़ने के लिए, लड़की हैं. लेकिन मेरे माता पिता ने उनकी बात ना मान के आज जो मैं इस पोजीशन पे हूँ, उनका धन्यवाद करती हूँ कि उनकी बात ना मान के उन्होंने अपने हिसाब से काम किया और मुझे बीएससी करवाया. फिर इसके बाद जब बीएड का नंबर आया तो मुझे यहाँ कानपुर में नहीं मिला, मतलब आसपास के जिलों में मेरा नाम नहीं आया, तो हमको आगरा के लिए फर्स्ट काउंसलिंग में नाम आया मेरा, तो उसके लिए बहुत विरोध हुआ कि इतने दूर कहाँ जाओगे पढ़ने के लिए. फिर जब सेकंड काउंसलिंग में मेरा कानपुर में नाम आ गया, तब फिर हमने बीएड किया. उतार चढ़ाव लड़कियों के जीवन में आते ही रहते हैं, इसको जागरूक करने के लिए हमें बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है। और जैसे कि सभी जानते हैं कि अध्यापक एक राष्ट्र निर्माता होता है समाज का। तो राष्ट्र निर्माता कैसे बना सकते हैं कि जब हम खुद अपने बच्चों को पहले जागरूक करें, उनके गार्जियनों को जागरूक करें। जागरूक करने के लिए उनको पहले तो विद्यालय में बालिकाओं का नामांकन होना चाहिए। जब बालिकाएं स्कूल में आएंगी तभी तो हम उनको जागरूक कर पाएंगे। अगर तो हमने अपने ये शिक्षा क्षेत्र में जो हमने काम किए हैं, तो जब हम स्कूल गए तो वहाँ पे बालिकाओं का नामांकन बहुत ही कम था। उसके लिए हम लोगों ने हमारे स्कूल के जितने भी स्टाफ हैं उन सब ने उसमें बालिकाओं के नामांकन पे फोकस किया और उनका सबसे पहले तो चिन्हांकन किया कि गांव में ऐसे कौन से बालिकाएं हैं जो कहीं भी स्कूल नहीं जाती हैं या फिर जाती भी हैं, कहीं नाम भी लिखा हुआ है, तो फिर 1 2 4 दिन जाके फिर वो घर में ही रुक जाती हैं। वो डेली स्कूल नहीं जाती हैं। क्यों नहीं जाती हैं? क्योंकि उनको उनके माता पिता इतने जागरूक नहीं हैं कि हमें भी अपनी बालिकाओं को पढ़ाना चाहिए, हमें भी वो भी कुछ कर सकती हैं। वो सोचते हैं लड़के ही आगे आ सकते हैं केवल। जबकि हम लोग जब वहाँ चिन्हांकन किया तो जो 6 से 14 वर्ष तक की बालिकाएं थी जो कहीं भी स्कूल नहीं जाती थी या जाती भी थी तो बहुत कम टाइम के लिए, क्योंकि उनको घर में इतनी जिम्मेदारियां दे दी जाती थी कि तुमको छोटे भाई बहन जो हैं उनको रखना है पूरा टाइम, उनकी देखभाल करनी है या घर के काम करने हैं, झाड़ू चौका बर्तन जो भी होता है गांव में, वो बालिकाओं की जिम्मेदारी दे दी जाती थी, दे दी जाती है कि ये आप काम करेंगी और स्कूल नहीं जाने दिया जाता था। तो हम लोगों ने एक जागरूकता अभियान चलाया और संपर्क किया घर घर जाके, और हमारे गांव के प्रधान और जो समाज के जागरूक व्यक्ति थे उनको ले जाके हम लोगों ने जो जिनके घर में बालिकाएं थीं उनके घर जाके उनका मनोबल बढ़ाया, उनको जागरूक किया कि बेटी को भी पढ़ाइए आप लोग, बेटी भी बेटों से कम नहीं है। आज के ज़माने में देखिए कितनी बड़ी-बड़ी हस्तियां हैं लड़कियां, हर क्षेत्र में हर काम में किसी लड़कों से कम नहीं है। तो हम लोगों की बात भी मानी उन लोगों ने, और जो हमारे गांव के प्रधान थे तो उनको भी हम लोग लेके गए, उनका सपोर्ट था हम लोगों के साथ। तो वो लोग कुछ अभिभावकों ने अपने बच्चों का वहाँ पे विद्यालय में नामांकन करवाया, और स्कूलों में जब नामांकन करवाने आए वो लोग, तो हम लोगों ने रोली टीका लगाकर और उनका स्वागत किया, और उनको जो अभिभावक थे उनको सम्मानित भी किया अपने स्कूल में, जिससे जो दूसरे गार्जियन हैं उनको भी ये प्रेरणा मिल सके कि हम भी अपनी बच्ची को स्कूल भेजें। तो इसलिए इस तरह हमने अपने स्कूल में नामांकन बढ़ाया, और आज पहले की अपेक्षा बहुत अच्छा नामांकन है। बालिका ये जो बालिका शिक्षा में आने वाली बाधाएं हैं, तो कुछ बच्चियों ने नामांकन तो करवा लिया लेकिन स्कूल में आती नहीं थी, तो उसके लिए हम लोगों ने उनके एक पावर ग्रुप बना रखा है जिसमें स्कूल के ही बच्चे नहीं हैं, जो गांव के जागरूक बच्चे हैं या जागरूक अभिभावक हैं, जो पास आउट हो चुके हैं बच्चे, उनको एक पावर ग्रुप के रूप में तैयार किया हुआ है, जो गांव के हम लोगों को पूरी जानकारी देते हैं कि कौन सा बच्चा अभी स्कूल कहीं भी नहीं जा रहा है, कौन सी लड़की क्या काम करती है, स्कूल क्यों नहीं आ रही है। तो जब हम लोग ये पावर ग्रुप बना करके उसकी जानकारी हम लोगों को जब मिल जाती है, तो उन बच्चों के साथ हम लोग उनके घर घर जाके एक रैली मतलब जनसंपर्क बनाते हैं, जिसमें हम उनको समझाते हैं कि बच्चों मतलब लड़कियों को केवल काम काज के लिए ही नहीं होना चाहिए कि घरेलू काम काज कर लिया बस ठीक है, पढ़ो मत, तुमको तो यही सब करना है आगे चल के। तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। उनके अभिभावकों को हम लोगों ने जागरूक किया और बताया कि लड़कियां हैं ये भी आगे जा सकती हैं। फिर इसके बाद जो हमारा नामांकन बढ़ा, उसके लिए हम लोगों ने जो काम किए हैं, और सबसे पहले तो हम लोगों ने नामांकन मेला लगवाया अपने स्कूल में, जिसमें नामांकन मेला में पहले तो प्रधान जी से बोल करके डुग्गी पिटवा दी जाती है कि नामांकन करवाइए, कल से नामांकन शुरू हो रहे हैं। उसमें जो भी अभिभावक अपनी बच्चियों को लेकर आते हैं उनका सम्मान किया जाता है और उनको पुरस्कृत भी किया जाता है। विद्या आरंभ अलंकरण प्रोग्राम भी उसी दिन करवाया, उनका रोली टीका लगाकर स्वागत किया ताकि जो और दूसरे गार्जियन हैं वो भी जागरूक हों। और इसके बाद कुछ ऐसे भी इसके करने के बावजूद भी कुछ ऐसे भी बच्चे थे कि जो नामांकन तो करवा लेते थे लेकिन वो स्कूल नहीं जाते थे। तो उसके लिए हमने शिक्षक आपके द्वारा अभियान चलाया। मतलब शिक्षक आप आए ना आए स्कूल, लेकिन शिक्षक आपके द्वार जाके आपको वर्क दे, हम लोग उनको जाके वर्क देते थे और अगले दिन वर्क चेक करने भी जाते थे। तो गार्जियंस इसको जब मतलब देखें कि बच्ची स्कूल भी नहीं जाती है फिर भी ये अपना काम करती है, पढ़ाई के लिए तत्पर है, मतलब पढ़ना चाहती है, तो इससे भी बहुत फर्क पड़ा उसमें कि बच्ची स्कूल भी नहीं जाती है, इनके टीचर्स आते हैं, काम देते हैं और चेक करते हैं आके। मतलब कि हमको बच्ची को पढ़ाने में लगन है तो इसको हमको पढ़ाना चाहिए। तो इससे भी काफी प्रभाव पड़ा है हमारे स्कूल में। और मैं ये कहना चाहती हूँ कि जो हम लोग अपने स्कूल में जो लैंगिक समता है, समानता है, तो लैंगिक समता पर बहुत फोकस करते हैं। जो भी हम लोग कक्षा का वातावरण एक तो भयमुक्त करते हैं कि किसी भी बच्ची को अपनी बात रखने में कोई भी झिझक ना हो, अपनी बात रखने में कोई भी डर महसूस ना हो कि मैम क्या कह देंगी, हम ये बात बोल देंगे। तो इसके लिए सबसे पहले भय मुक्त वातावरण हो क्लास का, तभी वो अपनी बात रख पाएंगी। और मतलब कोई भी चीज अगर लड़की बोल रही है तो उसको प्रोत्साहित करते हैं हम लोग। कभी उसके लिए अंदर निगेटिविटी नहीं रखते हैं कि नहीं ऐसा तुमको नहीं करना चाहिए। इसके लिए हम लोग जैसे ही विद्यालय में कोई भी कार्यक्रम होता है तो बालिकाओं को भी समान अवसर देते हैं, उनको बोलने के लिए, उनको करने के लिए, उनमें निर्णय लेने के भी समान अवसर देते। जब लड़कियों की लीडरशिप की बात आती है तो लीडरशिप भी हम लोग बालिकाओं को बढ़ चढ़ के हिस्सा लेने में प्रोत्साहित करते हैं कि आप लोगों को भी आगे आना चाहिए। क्या तुम लोग ऐसा नहीं कर सकते हो? तुम लोग तो बॉयज से ज्यादा अच्छा कर सकते हो। तो हम जैसे कि हम लोगों ने पावर ग्रुप एक ग्रुप बनाया हुआ है, उसमें भी लड़कियों को ही लीडरशिप दिया है क्योंकि लड़कियों के अंदर बहुत ही झिझक होती है अपनी बात रखने में। क्योंकि गांव के माहौल में ऐसा होता है कि वो अपने घर ही में अपनी बात नहीं कह पाती हैं तो बाहर क्या कह पाएंगी। क्योंकि शुरुआत से ऐसा माहौल ही उनके अंदर भर दिया जाता है कि नहीं तुमको किसी के सामने कुछ नहीं बोलना है। इसलिए हम लोग स्कूल में उनको लीडरशिप देते हैं कि ताकि वो अपनी बात रखें, और लीडरशिप करेंगी तो अपनी भी बात रखेंगे और दूसरे की बात को भी रख सकती हैं। इसी तरह हम लोगों ने अपने स्कूल में ग्रीन आर्मी बना रखी है पेड़ों के देखभाल के लिए, किचन गार्डन के लिए। उसमें भी हमने लीडरशिप एक बच्ची को ही दे रखी है क्योंकि ये मानसिकता होती है कि खेत का काम लड़के करते हैं। जैसे एजुकेशन में ही ले लीजिए कि एग्रीकल्चर की जब बात आती है तो कहते हैं एग्रीकल्चर तो लड़कों का सब्जेक्ट है, होम साइंस लड़कियों का सब्जेक्ट है। जबकि रियलिटी ये है कि एग्रीकल्चर मतलब खेतों में काम करने ज्यादातर 69% महिलाएं ही काम करती हैं। यहाँ गाँव में महिलाएं ही काम करती हैं, जबकि पुरुष एग्रीकल्चर पढ़ते जरूर हैं लेकिन काम नहीं करते हैं। तो ये कोई बाध्यता नहीं होनी चाहिए कि एग्रीकल्चर लड़कों का सब्जेक्ट है और होम साइंस लड़कियों का सब्जेक्ट है। होम साइंस लड़कियां ले तो लेती हैं, लेकिन देखिए अब बड़े बड़े होटलों में शेफ कौन होते हैं? लड़के होते हैं। तो ऐसा कोई बाध्यता नहीं है कि तुमको होम साइंस ही पढ़ना है, मैथ नहीं पढ़ना है, साइंस नहीं पढ़ना है, एग्रीकल्चर नहीं पढ़ना है। तो इसीलिए हम लोगों ने जो ग्रीन आर्मी अपने स्कूल में बनाई है, तो उसमें बालिका को ही लीडरशिप दिया है ताकि वो अपने लीडरशिप का यूज करके अपने विचार प्रस्तुत करे और उसकी देखभाल भी करे, और दूसरे के सामने उसमें बोलने की झिझक ना हो, अपनी बात रख सके। ये छोटी छोटी लीडरशिप दे के ही उन बच्चों को तैयार कर सकते हैं। जब हम एक बच्चे को अपने अंदर के भावों को बाहर व्यक्त करने का अवसर प्रदान करते हैं, धीरे धीरे वो अपने भावों को व्यक्त करने लगते हैं, वही आगे जाके एक अभिभावक बनते हैं। एक ऐसे अभिभावक जो अपने लीडरशिप मतलब अपने भावों को बाहर रख सकता है और गर्ल्स को और बॉयज को एक समान समझता है। इसी तरह वही अभिभावक एक समाज बनता है, समाज देश का निर्माण करता है। तो इसीलिए ये कहा जाता है कि अध्यापक राष्ट्र का निर्माता होता है, क्योंकि जो सबसे छोटी इकाई है, जो सबसे छोटा मंच है बच्चों का, तो उसमें सब टीचर ही उसको सिखाता है, टीचर ही उसको बताता है कि कैसे हमको आगे आके काम करना चाहिए, अपने भावों को प्रकट करना चाहिए। इसी तरह हम जैसे अपने विद्यालय में खेल कूद का है, तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि क्रिकेट की टीम लड़कों की ही होती है। क्रिकेट हम लोगों ने क्रिकेट टीम, खो खो टीम, बास्केटबॉल टीम, जो भी खेल कूद की टीमें हैं, उसमें बालक और बालिकाओं को समान टीमें बनाई हैं, समान अधिकार दिए हैं। दोनों अपनी अपनी टीम में खेल सकते हैं। प्रेयर सभा में कोई लड़कों की लाइन अलग और लड़कियों की लाइन अलग नहीं करवाते हैं। एक समान लाइन में बच्चे अपने हाइट के हिसाब से खड़े हो जाते हैं। क्लासरूम में भी ऐसे ही होता है कि कोई भी लड़के और लड़कियों की अलग अलग पंक्ति नहीं होती है। उनको यू शेप में बैठाल के हाइट के हिसाब से या फिर जैसे बच्चे आते जाते हैं स्कूल में, वैसे अपना यू शेप में बैठते हैं, ताकि जो हमारा भी हम सब बच्चों से संपर्क बना रह सके, हमको सारे बच्चे दिखाई दें। और क्या ये ना समझें कि हमसे मैम क्यों नहीं पूछती हैं, हमको क्यों नहीं देखती हैं, हमसे क्वेश्चंस क्यों नहीं करती हैं, हमारे क्वेश्चनों का आंसर क्यों नहीं देती हैं। तो यू शेप में बैठाने का ये लाभ है कि सारे बच्चों से हमारी पहुंच हो और हमारी पहुंच सारे बच्चों तक हो। तो इस तरह हम लैंगिक समता को बढ़ावा देते हैं। दोनों ही वर्गों को।
थैंक यू सो मच आराधना जी, आपके विचार सुन के हमें बहुत अच्छा लगा। अब हम अगले स्पीकर से पूछना चाहेंगे।
ओके, थैंक यू मैम।
थैंक यू सो मच। Now I would like to introduce Sanskriti ji. Sanskriti is a graduate of political science from the University of Delhi. She holds a demonstrated history of working in research, project management, and strategy in various profit or non-profit or government organizations. She worked as a child rights fellow at the Delhi Commission for Protection of Child Rights, GNCT Delhi, and Ashoka University, and contributed to some of the flagship projects in the Juvenile Justice Division of DCPCR. Besides this, she was also a Gandhi Fellow in the Aspirational Districts Transformation Program in Niti Aayog and Piramal Foundation, where she coordinated the implementation of various educational schemes in the district of Sonbhadra, Uttar Pradesh. Currently, Sanskriti works at the Center for Civil Society, a public policy think tank to champion the rights of street vendors in Delhi. Now, I would like Sanskriti to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Astha, for the wonderful introduction. Hello and good morning to all the other panelists and everybody else watching. Um, Before actually delving deep into the topic or the theme of the day, I feel it is important to address the whole issue from a macro as well as a microscopic view. So, harnessing the potential of education as a change agent is a really important need of the hour. But, before we get into what should be done inside a classroom, it is important to address the question of what is actually happening outside of it. Uh, so if we start from these highest of the leadership position, as per the 2019 data, women in parliament, the world classification says that around 12.6%, there are only 12.6% of women leaders in the Indian parliament, and India stands at 149 ninth position in this statistics. That gives us a great insight into the fact that if there is not a proper representation, I think addressing the question of gender equality in the classroom and working towards achieving the sustainable goal by 2030 will be a long lost dream. If we go as per the trickle down effect, we see that as per the All India Survey in Higher Education, for every 100 male teachers, there are just 74 teachers in India. This report is from June 2021. However, the situation slightly differed in July 2021, when maximum teachers were appointed who were female. However, uh, even if issue was addressed for that particular moment, how well can we say that this will remain for the coming years and coming time that we all get, we talk about this issue? uh, and if we consider that even if this issue is sorted, or maybe this issue is addressed, there comes another concern of rationalization. So even if there are male teachers as well as female teachers, and the female teachers are more than the male teachers, there comes the issue where the female teachers might not want to enter into the remote areas of India where there are schools. Speaking from my experience, this is something that has actually happened. And there are teachers who, and this is absolutely understandable, that it will be difficult from a logistical constraint and as well as from a from a convenience point of view, that a teacher generally prefers staying uh, in a maybe a headquarter, or maybe not taking a posting inside a school which is in the remotest corner of a country, until and unless the teacher is very devoted towards the cause. So before actually talking of what a teacher should do in class, we should address and actually empathize with the concerns or the stereotypes that a teacher is actually facing in themselves. So this is the kind of macro scopic issue that I wanted to discuss. The issue of representation, where maximum female teachers should be sent to more remote areas as per their convenience. And secondly, the own gender biasnesses of a teacher, because we can only expect outcome from a classroom is when a teacher is convinced in themselves that this is the biasness I will have to work on. Because it is one thing implementing a curriculum, but it is a different thing living with it and making it a cause, making it a passion. At this point of time, it's just not about two genders, it's about inclusion of all the genders that need to be heard. So it is very important that a teacher starts addressing their own biases before implementing the long made curriculums that we discuss, or maybe that NCERT has created, or maybe several other government institutions, state institutions prepare. But there are very less curriculums that actually focus on addressing the gender biasnesses of a particular teacher, until and unless the teacher is really passionate about the cause. So this is something that comes from my experience, and this is absolutely my own personal view. Now, if we come down to the microscopic view of the entire topic, so since all of us know this fact that after 18 months, a child starts developing their uh, cognitive and non-cognitive skills, and that's when they start adapting to gender normative behavior. That's when a teacher comes. And like this child goes to a pre-nursery school, and then the child goes to a LKG, UKG, and things like that, class 1, class 2, and then the process of education begins. I feel that it is very important that we address the concept of inclusion by implementing things that include active instructional teaching. This thing actually works with children because in active instructional teaching, you are not giving them a long-term goal. The actiotope of a child is basically achieving what is the immediate goal that has been set, and that gives a long-lasting thought, or maybe a long-lasting impact on the child, because the need becomes to achieve that particular goal at that particular time. So the active instruction, so this is also called the expectancy value theory. And when a child knows that this is what is desired, and that becomes the want of a child. And this can be achieved through active instructional, teaching. So this is one thing I think can be, utilized by the teachers in classrooms to introduce activities and to do small, gender neutral and uh, uh, gender specific curriculums and things like that. So also it's also about the way the teacher implements the whole of a system, or the way the teacher implements the curriculum. It's not about just creating a curriculum and then leaving it to the traditional method of teaching. It's very important that the ways of it are also worked upon in such a way that it becomes adaptive to a particular child or a particular gender, or a gender as a whole. So it shouldn't be very specific. The boy should it shouldn't. So also I think there should not be affirmative, or maybe positive, kind of a positive masculinity we should teach them, or maybe we should tell them to we should promote girls more. When you say that you need gender equality, and then you give statements like we think we need to promote girls more, this is contradictory in its own self. So I think these are some of the things that need to be worked on if we see on a microscopic view. Also, it's very important that the teachers start role modeling what they want to teach. So when a teacher becomes a role model is when the teacher actually starts mobilizing the whole of the classroom as well as the community. The child is there with the teacher for maximum 6 to 7 hours, but the child is there with the community for the whole day, and then for the child develops in a community. It's very important that parallelly the teacher uses their influence and make sure that this particular thing gets carried in the community as well. So these are some of the it's very important the teacher starts impacting the ecosystem of a child rather than just focusing on the child. So this is what I feel. Also, I would like to share some of the best practices that might be used. So I was going through some of the articles, and I realized there's this really good class that happens in Kenya that is called the consent class. All the children have to take consent, irrespective of the gender, to their classmates of whatever they want to ask them, if they have to do something, or even if they want to play. So everything goes on consent. If we include something as easy as this, I think it will be very easy for a boy as well as for a girl to understand the concept of consent from a very young age. Also, in India, there are classes or there are practices called the period boxes, and this is actually a true case, where a teacher had created a period box, and there a lot of girls used to stock all their sanitary napkins, but then the parents of the boys came in, and then they said that even we think that the boys should also take responsibility of the period box. They should also make sure that every month the box is stacked. So things like this bring a lot of kind of awareness or attention, and it makes people hear the issue a little louder. So I think these are the like some ways, and these are some of the issues I thought maybe we can focus on from a very macroscopic as well as from a microscopic perspective. And once we start doing this is when our long age old dream of having all the genders on the same platform get accomplished, and we certainly do reach our goal of sustainable development by 2030. So that's how I would like to conclude. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sanskriti, for your views. Now I would like to ask questions. So my first question is for Aditi ma'am. Ma'am, I want you to tell me a challenging incident where you faced gender inequality yourself or someone you know, and what did you do to overcome it?
That's a really nice question. I'll have to think a little bit, but since I come from a girls' college, there we were taught that we all are at equal level, and I think my college opened my horizon a little more, where I got to know that I don't have any barrier, I don't have any foundations. There is no limit to what I can achieve. Before which I felt like these things I think I should not do, and these are some of the things that I think I can do. But when I went into a girls' college, that turned an into a great opportunity for me to understand that there is no foundation for any women out there. We are set to achieve what we can achieve, and what we think. If I can think it, I can achieve it. So that's what I have in my mind. And to answer your question, um, sometimes in a early years classroom it becomes a little tough for me to cater to questions or bring talk about gender as a norm in my classroom, because for 5-year old learners to understand all these things, it's a little tough. But it happens. It's not like it doesn't happen, because they are also living in our environment. They also go back home, they also learn on their way back home, or on their way to the schools. They're observing, they're learning, and they come up with questions which are sometimes controversial, which are sometimes very provocative. And as a teacher, I can't say no to answer to those questions, but then again, answering those questions in a way that they understand it. At the same time, I'm also catering to the their thinking levels and breaking it down to their level, so that gets a little tough. But apart from that, I don't think I have a particular incident to answer your question, Astha.
Okay, thank you. So I have another question for you. Since you have worked and you're working in a lot of organizations, so what suggestions would you like to give based on your experience about what role can a teacher play to bring a gender neutral society?
As I told you in the starting of the session also, one thing that a teacher has to deliberately work upon is the kind of language that we are using, the kind of examples that we are bringing to our classroom, and the kind of experiences that we are giving to our children. So I would want all the teachers who are working in early years, who are working in primary classroom, who are working in elementary classes, to bring in activities that are gender neutral, to bring in language that are gender neutral, and to deliberately make an effort working towards an environment in a class where we are catering to all those things that might get lost outside of the four walls. We need to make sure that the activities that we are giving to our children are gender neutral, are in a way that they get to learn out of it, and they get to learn a lot of things that they might not see in their real lives, and they take those experiences out there in the real life, and make others learn from it. Because as a class, when I have 20 children with me, I have that power, because when you have 20 children learning from you, it's a power that you have, it's a responsibility that you have, because you are changing their mindsets. The way you think is the way your 20 children are going to think, and then again other 20 are going to learn from them. So it's very important as a teacher that we are deliberately making effort, we are consciously using a language, we are consciously choosing activities and providing agencies to our learners that are gender neutral, and take them forward from there.
Thank you so much, Aditi ma'am. Now, my next question is for Sanskriti ma'am. Since you have worked in public policy and administration, do you think gender concerns need to be accounted for in public policy? And how can a teacher play a role in that?
It's a brilliant question. Thank you so much, Astha. So, yes, it is very important to hold accountability, but then how do you decide at what level? uh, because you know the whole of the process is so broken down in the sense it has so many levels to it, that you fail to understand at what level does the accountability hold. Should it be on a factor where the public policy is being made? Should it be where analysis is being done? Or should it be during the policy implementation factor? Or should it the whole, it should also include the whole of a, it should be a mix of all three. So, what I believe, I think it should be a mix, because that way you get the insights of implementational challenges. That's when from a top to bottom approach, you deliver those things, and that's when you get the insights and you implement and you try to incorporate them in the policy. That's how accountability is built. So this is the kind of process that can be followed if you have to think of accountability in public policy. It does not lie in one particular level. You will obviously have to make it a blended model. Coming to your next question, a teacher plays a very very important role, but then it again comes to the fact, how and when does the teacher amplify their voice? So the only issue I feel happens here is the whole of the process becomes a top to bottom top to bottom approach, where the teacher should be actually kind of telling the challenges, or maybe writing down whatever issues that they think need to be addressed. So it's very important that a teacher starts voicing their concerns in such a way that the policymakers get heard. The voice gets heard. So this, I think, a teacher can play a role in public policy, to write the challenges, to write about things that they think need to be incorporated, to write and speak about the need and everything that gets or should be incorporated, because they are the ones on the ground. They have the best understanding of the condition, they have the best understanding of the situation. Their recommendations are really important. So this is how I think a teacher can play a really important role while drafting or contributing in a public policy setup. Yes.
Thank you so much, Sanskriti ji. Now my question is from Aradhna ji. आराधना मैम, जैसे कि आपने बताया कि आपने बीएड की और आपने अभी भी उसमें पढ़ा रहे हैं और एक फ्यूचर टीचर है ये सब, तो हम सभी के पेरेंट्स ने हमें प्रोफेशन में जाने के लिए इंसिस्ट किया, तो हम एक जॉब भी नहीं कर सकते और हम घर भी नहीं संभाल पाते। तो हमारे इस प्रोफेशन को हमारी सोसाइटी ने जेंडर के साथ जोड़ दिया कि या तो आप घर संभालोगे या फिर आप पढ़ा सकते हो। तो आपके विचार इस पर क्या है?
जी आस्था जी, ये बिल्कुल सही बात है कि जो लोगों की मेंटालिटी है कि टीचर अगर जॉब मिल है महिलाओं को, तो लड़कियां भी संभाल लेती हैं और भी करती हैं, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, क्योंकि आज के में टीचर को केवल टीचर ही आज बराबरी है, लेकिन आज 15 साल पहले महिलाओं को जब पढ़ने ही नहीं आता था तो टीचर कैसे बनेंगी। तो इसके लिए मैं बिल्कुल नहीं मानती हूँ टीचर को, मतलब लड़कियों को केवल टीचर ही जॉब अपनानी चाहिए। आज उसमें बहुत सारी लड़कियां इस लाइन पे, आर्मी में, पायलट, डॉक्टर, इंजीनियर, लेकिन जो मेंटालिटी बनी हुई है कि महिला टीचर घर भी संभालती हैं और जॉब भी करती हैं, तो ये बात बिल्कुल सही है कि लोगों के में ये मानसिकता है कि महिलाएं टीचर बन सकती है, टीचर अच्छी जॉब है उनके लिए। ये मानसिकता क्यों आई है? क्योंकि जो कोई भी डॉक्टर की बात आती है तो जो पोस्टर दिखाए जाते हैं तो डॉक्टर के दिखाए जाते हैं, जब टीचर की बात आती है तो टीचर का पोस्टर दिखाया जाता है, तो फिर टीचर का पोस्टर दिखाया जाता है। तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, क्योंकि जब महिला टीचर भी बन सकती है, डॉक्टर भी बन सकती है, इंजीनियर भी बन सकती है, वो किसी भी लाइन पे, आर्मी, पुलिस में, आज बड़ी कल्पना चावला लीजिए, सरोजनी नायडू को ले लीजिए, इन महान हस्तियां ऐसी जो महिलाओं का नाम ऊंचा करके हैं, तो केवल टीचर ही जो महिलाओं के लिए अच्छी नहीं है। ये मानसिकता जरूर है कि जॉब बहुत अच्छी महिलाओं के लिए है, मैं मानती हूँ कि महिलाओं के लिए अच्छी जॉब है, क्योंकि महिलाएं बच्चों से पढ़ने में अपना लगाव है उनको। आज टीचर बनी हुई तो हमको बच्चों में, छोटे छोटे बच्चों के टाइम स्पेंड करने में, उनके साथ रहने में अच्छा था, इसलिए हमने टीचर जॉब अपनाई है। ये नहीं अपनाई कि टीचर जॉब अच्छी होती है कि वो महिलाएं अपनी अभी काम कर लेती, इसलिए जॉब इस लाइन पे आए हैं। हम इसलिए आए हैं, हमारा और बच्चों को हमारा अंदर लगाव है, तो बच्चों के प्रति लगाव है वो भी बना रहे और जुड़ाव भी बना रहे, इसलिए हमने की जॉब अपनाई थी। कि आज जो शिक्षण पद्धति है, तो उसमें दिखाया जाता है कि टीचर को का कोई बात होती है, पोस्टर किसका दिखाया जाता है? फीमेल टीचर का। ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, मेल और फीमेल दोनों दिखाना चाहिए। और जब डॉक्टर की बात आती है तो डॉक्टर में ही नहीं होता है, डॉक्टर महिलाएं भी होती हैं, महिलाओं के भी दिखाना चाहिए। इंजीनियर में भी ऐसी मेल इंजीनियर नहीं, फीमेल इंजीनियर की बात रखनी चाहिए, उनको बच्चे दिखाना चाहिए। उनके मन में ये कभी नहीं है कि ये हम नहीं कर सकते, हम टीचर ही बन सकते हैं, टीचर ही ऐसी जॉब की महिलाएं कर सकती हैं। तो ऐसा कि मन में कभी नहीं आना चाहिए, और ये तभी संभव है कि उनको दिखाए जाए कि डॉक्टर भी फीमेल हैं, इंजीनियर भी फीमेल हैं, नर्स भी हैं, और टाइम पे आर्मी में सारी महिलाएं जा सकती हैं, हर फील्ड में महिलाएं जा सकती हैं। और ये
Yes,
कहना
ma'am.
चाहूंगी कि लड़कियों को आगे आने के लिए आप लोगों ने ये प्रोग्राम चलाया, उसको हमारी भागीदारी हमको का मिला, उसके लिए बहुत धन्यवाद।
Thank you so
थैंक यू मैम।
much, ma'am. Thank you. Now I would like to invite a few other guests who won an article writing competition on research. I would like to invite Mr. Gyaneshwar Mishra, who is from Bihar, currently living in Indore, Madhya Pradesh. He is very passionate about policy matters like that of a girl child education. So I would like him to please say a few words.
First of all, hello and good morning, everybody. It was so enlightening hear you all. And most of us have been working on the ground level for the betterment of girl education. And the topic, which is about the how teacher can work toward bringing in the gender equality. I think before we delve into that, we should understand that the teacher can interact with the students only when the girl child reaches the schools or colleges. But the issue in India is about the low literacy rate. If you look at the data, more than 50% of the girl child drop out at the higher education. So if the girl child does not reach the school level, we cannot even think of teacher helping them helping in adjusting the whatever discrimination there is in the society. So it is very important to we important that we understand well where does exactly the problem lie. So I will start with the introduction on the girl child education and challenges in India. As we all know, educating girl child is important as it aids in female enrollment and attendance, and it improves the overall learning outcomes for all the children. Male and female enrollment in educational institutes of various levels, from primary to higher education, differs by a large amount. The most almost we can tell that 60% to 70% of the student in any school at the rural level are boys. The girls are the remaining 30%. So I have pointed out few notes on where does exactly the problem lies, which differs the girls from getting education in these primary and secondary schools. The first of all, I would like to talk about the Indian education system, gender equality and discrimination. As we all know, the majority of India's population lives in rural areas, and it is a resource-constrained country. And we have a very low per capita GDP, which implies that the majority of households have little to no spare funds to spend on their children's education. The quality education is quite expensive in India, I would say. And whatever resources a family have, they will always prefer spending that resources on their boy child to get the education. So this is at the primary level, the girl child are not given the opportunity. The second comes down to the child marriage. As established, the majority of impoverished rural households views the girl as liability or burden to be passed on. The general trends in such household is to marry a girl as soon as they are barely mature enough or have even reached poverty. In such an unfortunate rush to eliminate female infants, education is most emphatically not a priority. If you look at the data, 8.9 million of India's 12.15 million married children are girls, and married girls outnumber married boys by 3 to 1. According to 2011 census, approximately 3 million children under the age of 14 are married. Rural girls account for 55% of married children. Child marriages deprive girls of their childhood by forcing them to assume adult roles for which they are unprepared, such as bearing children or making decisions about the households. It does not only impair her academic performance, but also pushes young girls into early pregnancy, which is detrimental to both the teen mother and the child's health and nutrition. The third concern of the parents are the abuse and violence concerns about the safety. According to data, 70% of the total population of children who went missing in the year 2018 as a whole are girls. It is a very concerning figure, and it's one of the major concerns of the parent that if they send their girl child to schools, they will leave the safety of their home. They might be the victim of abuse and violence concerns. And one extremely important point is the poor school infrastructure. In countries like India, the teenage girl of menstrual age are falling behind in school because of extreme social stigmas, scarcity of affordable sanitary napkins, a lack of decent functioning toilets, and the lack of adequate school infrastructure. Another aspect of poor infrastructure is that it severely discourages parents from sending their daughters to school because they do not believe it is worthwhile to invest their time, money, and other resources in those institutions. They are very well aware that the quality of education is directly related to the infrastructure of the education provider institution, and that in the vast majority of cases, any education provided would not be worth the money spent to obtain it. We also have to look at the poor girls enrollment rate and the high girls dropout rate. According to the data, the dropout rate for girls in elementary school is 4.10%, which and rising to 16.88% in secondary schools, with figures significantly highest for girls from vulnerable groups like that of social caste and social tribe. So I would like to conclude with the education is vital for the overall development of a country or nation. Education is vital for both boys and girls. Educating girls remains a challenge in most developing nations, including in India. Every girl needs education to improve her life and become smarter. Girls' education is for self stability. Everyone has the right to grow up. Parents should be held responsible for their daughter's education, but their useless thought waste their primary schooling. While India's literacy rate increased significantly, many aspects of girls' education still need to be improved. Parents are the biggest barriers for their children, especially the girl child, especially insisting on their future thoughts and dreams, and some parents are unaware to give education for girl child, especially the problem lies in the rural areas. Education is not important for the girls in rural areas when parents rarely send their daughter to school. The family must understand that the major needs and requirement for child development is being getting educated. I sincerely thank the team for giving me the opportunity to put on my words.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Gyaneshwar. Now I would like to invite Sneha Bhattacharjee from West Bengal to say a few words. You're not audible, Sneha. Sneha, you're not audible.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes,
Just
yes.
a second. Now, am I audible?
Yes, Sneha, please
Okay.
continue.
So, hello everybody. My name is Neha Bhattacharjee. Okay. So, the topic which I would like to talk about is um, how can our Indian history set an example for the present generation to support girls in education? John Santayana says those that do not learn history are doomed to repeat it. History plays a very important role in our development, and it is the study of the past and learning from the mistakes made in the past. Some of the events can be an inspiration for future generations, and this helps to understand the impact of it on the world right now, to understand the world. This gives us the opportunity to learn from mistakes made in past. Also, it helps us to understand the various causes and reasons why people are behaving the way they do. As a result, it helps us to become more compassionate as an individual and more unbiased in terms of decision making. History is more than just a living record of the nation, the famous leaders and incidents of wars. All of those things are ideas and views we can relate to. It's enriching to know that so could the likes of the famous leading figures like Vidyasagar Swami Vivekananda, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Sister Nivedita, etc. That is why this is the main reason that history is taught in school around the world because the historians were able to learn about how countries and groups evolved and developed. For example, when a person dives deep into their own family's past after finding out that they are able to understand how their family interacted with larger historical change. In other words, what the meaning of history is may be different to differ among scholars. It is a primary and analytical lens that can teach, or it will show us the important kinds of the known human past and virtually every kind of imaginable, if not predictable, human nature. In India, women's education or girl child education plays an important role in the development of the country because it not only helps in the development of human resource but in improving the quality of life home and outside as well. In history, several women figures are there who contributed to education and were most powerful figures. Not only women but men were there who contributed a lot as well. Their words are an inspiration that motivates future generation to be like them. Figures like Raja Ram Mohan Rai say that all men and women were treated equally during the ancient India, and he also stated that women were not inferior to men, both in terms of moral and intellectual. He also believed that unless women were free from inhuman forms of abuse like illiteracy, child marriage, society will never develop and progress. There is no doubt that famous people like Sarojini Naidu played great roles as freedom fighters. But it was she, along with other famous personalities like Annie Besant and Kamala, effort towards the betterment of India, and the choices she made are still inspirational and motivating today. It was her contribution and hard work that encouraged many women to get out of the kitchen and speak for their rights. But after her dedication, to fighting populist empowerment, it was then great change which was noticed during that time. In our country, casteism is a major issue and fight against that. Both Jyoti Rao and Savitribai Phule brought a revolution by opening schools for girls who are from marginalized communities. The idea of and vision of Swami Vivekananda played a significant role in her being chosen for the role of educating Indian women. For her, progression and conservation were not odd, and she could take India on the path of development while preserving its traditional beauty. Along with classroom learning, an industrial department in her school was initiated where classes of handicrafts or embroidery, various sorts of tailoring, and toy making were taught, and now this department is affiliated with the government-run Directorate of Cottage and Small-Scale Industry. Her unique way of teaching method and her kindness made her school very popular among people. It is important to remember that Nivedita was not only a teacher but also a social reformer. Her contribution to India's society is amazing because she has generously dedicated her life to the upliftment of Indian society. Sadly, the current scenario is not in that position to create a positive impact on people and society. These things are limited to school syllabus and only read and mugged up for passing exams. But the way of thinking and ideas are not followed. Patriarchy, oppression, injustice towards women and women girls are there and still fighting with it. History is not just limited as a subject and nothing else. But reading about these events and about the contribution towards girl education, it will create wonders. Our country really needed a positive inspiration and guide for the betterment of the half human resource. Teaching history and sharing the tales of our leaders will shape the future generation. Sadly, no one gave their value till it now.
Thank you so much, Sneha. Now I would like Samiksha to present the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Astha. As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words but to live by them. With this, a very good morning and Jai Hind to one and all present over here. I am very privileged to be here in this national conference on behalf of Sarkari School team. WeCitizens Foundation and their initiate project Gudiya, and our partners NSS, Sri Guru Gobind Singh College of Commerce. We want to thank all the guests of our panel, that is, what difference could a teacher bring for gender equality? First of all, I extend my vote of sincere thanks to Almighty God for making today's event a resounding success. With their blessings and grace, we are able to make this event what it was. My gratitude to all the speakers for gracing the occasion and sharing their opinions today. I am immensely thankful to Abhishek Ranjan sir and all the team leaders for their efforts towards today's conference. Their own ideas and elegance of explanation of everything. I need to mention my deepest sense of appreciation. I also extend thanks to all the audience for their enormous cooperation within the organization of the conference. Now, I would like to thank all the guest speakers that are Adity Ghalawat, Hina Naim, Sanskriti Shree, and Aradhna Patel, who has inspired everyone. We have learned a lot from all in today's event. Last but not the least, a very big thank you to each one of you who made this national conference memorable for all of us. On behalf of my team, let me thank all the audience to be disciplined and honored. Our next session is Role of Society in Enabling Girls' Education with the guests Yashika Garg, Manasvi Bhatia, Rashita Singh, Muskan Parmar, Madhulika Sharma. I would like you all to join this session as well. That's all from my side. Thank you and Jai Hind. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.